everybody, it's time for that end of year list that a lot of other video makers seem to be doing, and so I felt like I should do it too. It was this year that I really started to enjoy doing book reviews on my channel as well as talking about Shakespeare. So I decided to do my top 5 favorite and least favorite books that I've read in this past year, 2013. Now, this is not books that were published in 2013. This is just books that I've read in 2013. And as such, this is going to be sort of a random and highly subjective list. So it's really just kind of for your entertainment, for my entertainment. Everybody loves lists, am I right? Also, this list is going to be very young adult book heavy because young adult books are mostly what I read. It's what I write, it's what I read. I do read some other stuff too, but young adult books is mostly what I read. Alright, let's start off with my top favorites list because I know y'all really want to get to the least favorites list because that one's way more fun. But let's just do the favorites list first here. So my top favorite books that I read in 2013, here we go. Number 5 would be The Diviners. While it was a sort of flawed book, the characters more than made up for it. The story was cool and mysterious, the writing was snappy, and the research that went into the book was evident. Somebody put a lot of work and a lot of heart into that book. I would definitely recommend that you read it, especially if you're a writer looking for how to make characters that are more interesting than the typical Mary Sues that are running around in a lot of YA books right now. Number 4, Every Day. This isn't one that I reviewed, but I recently read it and I really enjoyed it. People seem to be on both sides of the fence about this book. They either really like it or they really don't. I'm in the really like it camp, which is rare because a lot of times I end up in the sort of camp when people have very strong emotions about a book. But I really liked this one and I would recommend it, especially if you are into the YA sort of modern day stories that are going on right now. They're very popular. Number 3, World War Z. See? There's a book that's not a young adult book in there. Haha! Although, you know, young adults could read it. Specifically, I want to say, though, that the version of World War Z that I read was the audiobook version, which is, I believe, the best way to read this book, because with the voices it really adds that extra push, that extra element that really elevated this one into the number 3 slot. It is an excellent book, very intriguing. I wanted more. I really wanted it just go on forever and tell me more, and especially check out the recorded book version and give it a listen. Number 2, Rules of Survival. This is another one that I didn't look at with you guys, didn't review, but it is one that I keep coming back to. I have read it now 3 times and it stays with me. It stays as one of my favorites. It's about a young man and his brothers and sisters dealing with a very abusive parent. And it just gives you great insight into that world and shows you how sometimes people just need help but they don't know how to ask for it or how to access it. And it is a really engaging book, very engaging characters, and the whole triumph of the human spirit thing is going on in that book, and I just keep coming back to it. It really just speaks to me. And my number 1 favorite book that I read this year is The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. You heard me rave about that on my review of The Boy in the Striped Pajamas and The Book Thief. I really love this book. It was very affecting to me and I would recommend it to anyone. Just go read it. Go read it and make your own decision about it. But I loved it. It's the favorite of the books that I read this year. So there you go. And now, what you've been waiting for, my top 5 least favorite books that I read this year. Oh boy. Here we go. Strap in, kids. Sitting at number 5, Divergent. Woo! Did you just throw a copy of A Midsummer Night's Dream at me in your rage? Wow. Yeah, so my opinion of this book, get my notebook back, it's probably fairly unpopular, but oh my gosh, there were just so many problems with this book that I couldn't forgive that it ended up on my list. I know it's popular and a lot of people really like it, but it is just so problematic. It only ended up at number 5 though, so, you know, there's maybe hope. Number 4 goes to Toil and Trouble. I talked about that one as well, did a review of it, and as a person who likes Shakespeare, it made me very sad. There was so much wasted potential there, and it ended up being, how do you make a play like Macbeth boring? You did it. How? Book, congratulations, you're number 4 because you managed to make one of my favorite Shakespeare plays boring as shit. Number 3 goes to a book which I actually did not manage to finish. I actually started reading this book with the understanding that I probably wouldn't make it to the end, but I wanted to see if it was as bad as I had heard. And yeah, it is. It is The Tiger's Curse. This book is not higher on my list, however, because it was written by an author who is an amateur. She was self-publishing, and then, you know, publishers noticed her, and for some reason no one gave her, I feel like if she had just been given a good editor, she could have pulled something out. But instead, what we got was a very amateurish book that is for some reason popular. And so it is not higher on my list simply because the author is very new and it's not her fault that they didn't give her a good editor. It's not. Number 2, The Dark and Hollow Places. I read this at the beginning of the year, and it is that one about zombies with the ending that will make you laugh your ass off. Seriously, go read it just for how they escape at the end. I was laughing hysterically. But otherwise, this book it's got really nothing, no good merits. The characters are shit, the story is shit, it's bad. It's bad. My number 1 book will stick with me for a very, very different reason. This book scarred me. This book is called Between the Lines, and I am considering rereading it to do a review because it damaged my psyche that much, but that would mean I would have to reread it, and I don't know if it's worth it. This book, see, and it made it to number 1 on my list because, unlike The Tiger's Curse, it has a professional author behind it. Granted, it was the author working together with her daughter, and I think it shows. I think, you know, it's lovely to do a mother-daughter project, but maybe don't publish it because, oh my gosh. I know that lots of people actually like this book, and I just don't understand. The characters are cardboard cutouts. The story, while it has promise, is executed really, really poorly. I didn't care about anyone or what they were doing. I don't know what style the author was going for. Is it like storybook? Is it like teen YA, you know, high school? I don't know. I don't understand. The word choices were terrible. Nobody ever said anything in this book. No, it was never, you know, I would like to walk over there, Tom said. They murmur everything. I am now scarred. I will never use the word murmur. Every time I read that word, I like flinched. It like hurt me because it was so overused and in the wrong places.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Anyway, that's a whole other tirade. This book is messed up. Don't read it. Seriously, sometimes I tell you to go check out a bad book for the laughs. Don't read it. Don't support this. This should have stayed a fun mother-daughter project that they just did together for fun, not something that ever got published. Just, you're a professional writer, woman. You should know better than this. I don't know. So, yeah, there you have it. My top 5 favorite and my top 5 least favorite books that I read in 2013. Well, bam. And now I guess I'm gonna read A Midsummer Night's Dream. I love this play.